welcome back to the Chaos Ball Podcast. It's episode 120. And unlike the last 2 years, this is not an immediate season recap podcast. We get to watch more ball. Well, we always, at this time of the year, get to watch more ball. We get to watch more Mariners ball, baby. Because what a month. What a month of September this was. They clinched. They won the division for the first time since 2001. It was a month. One of the greatest months of baseball of my entire life. Dare I say it? This one, I'm just going to talk about, not the whole season. Talk about the clinch. Talk about how it felt. And just look ahead to the ALDS because we get to take a week off, which is really nice. This is not something I'm used to at all. We get to take a whole wild card series off, which is so lovely. It's just we get to kick back and watch wild card baseball ensue without having our emotional health riding on it. And what a change that is. If this episode sounds different, I don't actually know if it's going to sound different, but it might. I am not in my usual spot. I don't have my microphone stand because I am on a trip for work right now. I'm in a hotel room, so I'm just holding my microphone in front of my face, which is probably going to really make my arm and hand tired. I'm going to have to switch back and forth, but I'm still recording this because this is when I wanted to record, right after the season was over. Game 162 has been played. We know the standings. We know the playoff picture, and we're going to get into it, but first things first. There's two salutes I want to give to start this episode off. One of them is the Root Sports Broadcasting team. Salute to them. It was announced a few days ago that Root is no more for Mariners games, at least. Maybe I fully don't understand this. Is Root just going away completely? But especially at least for Mariners games, Root is no longer going to be they're going away from the RSN business like a lot of teams are. So that game 162 was the last Mariners game potentially ever on Root Sports. You won't rule out a comeback at some point because I feel like we're inevitably all going back to cable. But salute to the team. I think they had a good year. I think it sounds like Jen Mueller is at least moving on. I don't know what any of the rest of them are going to do. I think hopefully most, if not all of them, will keep their jobs. That would be great as they kind of nestle under the MLB TV umbrella starting next year. I have no doubt, obviously, I think Goldie will be back and those fellas in the booth. But like your Jen Muellers, Angie, Brad Adam, like the people down on the field doing the interviews and stuff, I think there's a question mark there. But salute to them. I think with the game where they clinched the playoffs and then the game where they clinched the division, I think they did a really good job on both of those broadcasts. I think especially Angie, I thought did a great job in the clubhouse with questioning the guys. I think it's a fun job, but it's also like a tough one to wrangle a bunch of dudes and ask like questions that they might want to answer at that moment in time when they're having fun pouring beers and champagne on each other. So I wanted to salute that team. We'll see what happens. We'll definitely talk about that in the offseason with the broadcasting deal. It means a lot for the broader MLB watching landscape, but in the near future, I think it'll be just a Mariners channel and MLB TV, which is easier. I mean, Root did have they launched that this year where you could just watch Mariners games with the Root app, but I think this is where it was going. The Mariners are one of many teams now under the MLB TV umbrella, but salute to the team. The second salute is to a player. It's to a baseball player I really liked, who was at one point this season, until he was released, rightfully so, the longest tenured Mariner on the team. Yes, that's right. I'm saluting Dylan Moore because I just want to pour one out for him. Like I said, longest tenured Mariner before he was released. I thought of him when they were celebrating in the clubhouse. They were interviewing guys. They were interviewing Mitch Garver, and I was like, that's cool. Mitch Garver's been here with the team for 2 years. That doesn't diminish what he just accomplished with the team. They interviewed like JP. He's been here a long time. They interview a lot of people who've been here a long time, who've been here not a very long time. And that made me think of Dylan Moore and how much Dylan Moore gave to the team. How he was a lone utility man light in some darkness there in like 2019, 2020, post immediate teardown and pre-competitive window. And then he was there in the competitive window. He was there in 2022. Had some really good years with the team. Him as a player is the type of player that every club should want to be able to produce in their system. Very useful. And also he just meant a lot to the team, being the longest tenured Mariner before getting released this season. I thought about him when they were celebrating the ALDS title, how they never won it when he was here. A little part of me just wanted Dylan Moore to be a part of the celebration. If they do end up winning the World Series this year, he will get a ring, which would be sick. I think that's the only way they can really rectify this. And he should have been cut. I was leading the charge. One of many that he should have been cut. Still doesn't mean I can't care about the guy, but I wanted to pour one out for him. So shout out to Dylan Moore. Now let's really get into it. The playoffs are upon us. The Mariners have clinched the division. I still can't believe they've done this. This is not something they've ever done in my lifetime. They did it in 2001. I was 1 year old. I was 1 year old at that point. Don't really remember that team very well, if you can believe it or not. I saw them go to the postseason in 2022 as a wildcard team. I've seen them numerous times miss the playoffs by a game or two. I've seen them win like 55 games a few times in my lifetime as well. I've seen a lot of bad and a lot of almost great and a lot of just mediocre. But this team has a special feel about it. I think I left the last podcast with the sentiment of like they have to win the West this year. This has kind of been the sentiment all season, is that they simply had to do it this year because it's rare division, and the division, I'm not going to say the division was handed to them, but it's rare in the last decade of the AL West to have it be as winnable as it was this season. They clinched the division with 89 wins. The Astros won 87 games and missed the playoffs. Phenomenal stuff. But they didn't have to do much. Like the Astros won the division last year with 88 wins. And I wanted to jump off a bridge because I was like, well, the Mariners could probably do that. They won 88 the year before. So it's you have to win the divisions that you can win with like sub 90 wins, that you can clinch with sub 90 wins, I should say. You just simply have to grab that opportunity. Not only that, I went on record probably a month ago saying this team is better than the Astros. Not a hot take. This was after the trade deadline and kind of right as like Josh Naylor was hitting really well and Julio was doing his thing, and it was like, yeah, this team just looks, the offense was better than the Astros. It was much deeper. The pitching staff on paper was deeper. The top guys could go either way. Brown, Valdez versus Wu, Logan on his day. Like you go back and forth there. But the pitching staff was deeper. Astros bullpen was definitely better than the Mariners, but the Mariners bullpen wasn't bad. The better team had to come out on top, and I genuinely can't believe that it did. I actually can't believe that the Seattle Mariners were not only the better team than the Astros and the Rangers and the Angels and the Athletics this year, but they actually used that superiority to win the division and hang a banner. That's preposterous for the Seattle Mariners, and I can't believe they did it. I didn't think it was going to happen even after they clinched the playoffs with 88 wins. I didn't like how much Brad Adam in the postgame was like, yes, and when they clinch the division, I was like, Brad, stop saying that, buddy. They might not. I am so jaded from this existence as a Mariners fan that I didn't even want to say it. And then they clinched the division. I'm not with anyone. I'm watching it in my apartment with my dog and my fiance. And it was one of the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. One of the happiest, not even shell-shocked, just speechless, really, because I just didn't know how to act. It's just not something I'm used to. And to see them win the division, cracking a beer open, thinking about life a little bit, shed a tear for how much I love this baseball team. And this 2025 team, I just made an obscene hand gesture with my hands, like Dom Canzone. I was like, this 2025 team is just, there's just something about them. And every playoff team says this, for sure. Like, the Guardians just demon-balled their way into making the playoffs, which is insane. Or winning the division, mind you, not just making the playoffs. Winning the freaking division. I can't believe they did that. And, like, the Brewers just had a crazy, awesome season. Like, the Phillies are kind of a buzzsaw. The Cubs are really fun. The Dodgers are inevitable. The Padres are as fun as they've ever been in the past half decade. But, you know, I watch the Mariners, and this team just, like, feels special. They do. I think it's probably because I haven't seen an offense treat pitchers like they have this past month, and it'd be, like, verifiably good. Like, there's a lot of good major league hitters on this team. I think that's what's really making me gush about this team, is that I've never been a part of a complete offense with the ceiling of this pitching staff. Like, I've seen good offenses. Like, I've watched Robinson Cano and Nelson Cruz and Cal Seager. Like, those offenses were good. But this one just seems deeper. The star power is also homegrown. Like, Cal Seager was there, but, like, there wasn't other homegrown, like, superstars. Like, we just witnessed the greatest, perhaps, I don't want to shortchange Buster Posey, but perhaps the greatest catcher season we've ever seen. The most impressive catcher season at the plate that we've ever seen. I think, no doubt. 60 home runs from a catcher is incredible. Homegrown. And then we also see a center fielder who's the most valuable center fielder in baseball, who was just one of the top 10 best players in the sport for 2 months to end the season, to make this playoff push. Also homegrown. He's younger than me. I think he's 24. And he's so much fun. 30-30. First player in franchise history to go back-to-back 30-30 seasons. I think that's what makes it special. And then you have the additions of like fan favorite Eugenio Suarez, who, thank God, the team was hitting well around him, because he hasn't looked great. But then you have Josh Naylor, who has had a rise to becoming an absolute must-keep for this team. And then you have Randy, who's super fun. Victor Robles came back in the thick of things right as they were turning it around. Dominic Canzone. You go on and on. I think part of why it's special is it's Cal and Julio, I think, make it extra special, because those two guys I feel very connected to as a Mariners fan, because I am in my 20s like them. They're homegrown. Like my Mariners fandom. I can't make that comparison. What the hell? But you know what I mean. It makes it extra fun. And just it was the way they did it. Like, they were having such a Jerry DiPoto Mariners season in recent years, up until like the first week of September, right? Like, they came into the season under-equipped offensively, and we knew that. We knew this. We knew they were under-equipped offensively, but it was like, okay, the floor's pretty high for this team. The bones of a good team are here. I think I said that many a time. I said the bones the the foundation, the core, whatever you want to call it, that was good. The homegrown pitching staff and the bullpen and those couple guys I mentioned on offense with like Randy entering the year. Like this was going to be a good baseball team. They turn it around at the deadline, as we expected Jerry Dipoto to do. He did a great job at the deadline. Could have still probably added another pitcher. I still think they could have added another relief pitcher, but it doesn't really matter at this point until October baseball is played. But still, they had a great deadline. He addressed the two biggest needs of this team, which was first base and third base. And Josh Naylor has ended up being one of the best, by the numbers and by the vibes, deadline additions in baseball history. It's been so nice to have a hitter like him in this lineup because he's different. He is different. We talked about this. He's different than the other hitters. He's different from Eugenio. He's different from Cal, Julio, Randy. He adds a professionalism, a contact ability, a plate appearance grinder, just get a hit type of guy aspect to this offense where it's like you can count on him to just, he's probably going to go up there and get a hit. He's pretty good at that and hit a home run and pimp it occasionally. Not all the time, but enough to remind you that he can do it. And then they have this like skid at the end of August and the start of September. And it's like, okay, they're doing it again. They're gearing up to be in a dogfight with the Rangers and Astros again for this division. I don't think the Rangers were ever up for that. They were for like a second. Let's just say dogfight with the Astros. And it's like, you know what? You know what's going to happen. The Astros are going to limp into first place and win the division again. It happens every year. I think we were all expecting it. And then it just didn't. September 4th was the off day after their road trip, one of their many road trips this second half of the year from hell. It was they went to the Guardians and then the Rays. Right? The Guardians was on the road, wasn't it? Am I just tired or am I talking out of my ass here? No, I'm correct. Yeah, no, terrible road trip. They get swept by the Rays. They look awful. They have an off day. What happened in that off day, who knows? They go to the Braves. They lose the Friday series. And then that Saturday, we've discussed this. The Etsy Witch, the mustaches, I get engaged. Everything changes. But the point is, from September 4th, I think was the tipping point. Like it was sink or swim at that point for them. It was like, okay, are you going to limp and miss the playoffs by a game again? Or are you going to take this freaking season by the horns, take matters into your own hands, and win this damn division? That's exactly what they did. They won 17 of 19 games to get to 90 wins and to win this division. 17 of 19. And then they get swept by the Dodgers in games that don't matter. Who cares? 17 of 19 games in September to win the division as the Astros fall is something the Mariners simply have not done. So it's just amazing to see them do it. It's just awesome. I could talk the whole show and just say how awesome it was. I mean, they won 16 of 17 to clinch the division. Like, that was the run they went on to then get to that 89 mark to win the division, which is incredible. I can't believe they did it. They clinched with 88 wins, which is awesome. We deserve this. They clinched the playoffs with 88 wins. How many times have they won that many games, 88 or more, and not even made the playoffs in the history of a franchise? I'll give you 1 second to guess. It's 6 times. 6 times they've done that. which they haven't been a historically good team since they were founded in 1977. So they haven't won 88 games plus that many times. But 6 times they've won 88 games and not make the playoffs. 2023 was one of them. If you recall, 2023, they miss the playoffs by a game in the wild card. 2 games in the AL West. The Astros win the division tied with the Rangers. The Rangers won the World Series. 2021, they also did this, and that was also, so we're back to 2 wild card spots now. This is 2021. They lose the division by 5 games. They win 90 games. They lose the division by 5 because the Astros were a 95-win team that year. And they miss out on the wild card by 2 games. 2018, they missed the playoffs again by a short margin. They lost the West by 89, they won 89 games. They lost the West by 14. The Astros won 103 that year. The A's won 97 that year, which you probably forgot that. Don't lie. You forgot the A's won 97 in 2018. And the Mariners missed out on the wild card that year by 8 games, so not close. That was not what I was remembering. Still, 89 wins, and you don't even sniff the playoffs in 2018. Then you got to go all the way back to 1 wild card spot. Now, we're in 2007. The Mariners won 88 games again. The Angels won the division that year with 94 wins, so the Mariners, again, weren't very close to winning the division, and they missed the 1 wild card by 6 games. Then you got to go back to 2003, where the Mariners won 93 games, lost the division by 3 to the A's, and lost out on the wild card to the Red Sox by 2 games that season. And then the first time in the Mariners' history that they ever won 88 plus and missed the playoffs was 2002. Post 2001, where they break the record, they win a measly 93, and they are 6 games back of the second place Angels and 10 games back of the 103-win 2002 Oakland Athletics in the AL West that year with just 4 teams. And they missed a wild card by 6 games to the Angels that year. So really, we've earned it. We've earned an 88-win playoff clinching team. Because that's not an amazing number of wins. But it's enough this season. And we've seen it not be enough this decade for this Mariners team. So the fact that they did it, incredible. The Astros series was, I think, literally the best series of Mariners baseball I've ever watched in my entire life. I think it's got to be. I think the Blue Jays series, the wild card, doesn't really count. 2 games. Like, I'm talking a full 3-game set. Let's just say regular season then, I guess. It was the best one. Pound for pound. The best one. Part of it, I was at my brother's bachelor party. If you're listening, incredibly fun to watch Mariners baseball with other Mariners fans whom you love, and with other Mariners fans in a bar that you're also watching the game at. Fully not somewhere I ever am. I'm never really in that experience. I watch games at my apartment, not with really anyone else a lot. I live in Southern California, so I also don't really go to a local bar in Seattle to watch the games. So that was super fun. The baseball they played was immaculate. The pitching was phenomenal. They shut the Astros out in the first game. And then they just take care of business in 2 hard-fought, lovely baseball games on the Saturday and Sunday. The Saturday game, Victor Robles, it's the catch. It's the catch heard around the Mariners world. Comes out of nowhere to save that game, and an incredibly dumb base running error by the Astros wins them that ball game. That was electric to watch live. After numerous beers, oh God, that was awesome. That was so much fun. And then the Sunday game was just, I think just hey, we're better than you. You know, I think it was we're just simply the better team and are going to go on and win this division. Logan Gilbert, really great outing. The Mariners tagged the Astros for 7 runs in the second inning. And don't look back. The game ends up being 7-3, but it was wrapped up. It was wrapped up in the second inning. The crowd was taken out of that game completely. They were on them that whole inning, and then JP hits the grand slam. Cal hits his 58th home run that game in the same inning. And that's that. That's it. They go on to win, and that cemented the division for them. That's all they needed to do. All they needed to do in that series was win 2 of 3. And they swept them in Houston to go 3 up in the division, going into a home series with the Rockies, where all they have to do is win 1 game. And they did that. 4-3 against the Rockies. They freaking did it. This was so much fun. They should beat the Rockies. The fact that they swept the Rockies makes me so happy. You know that I was very, very frightened of this Rockies series, because what if they were tied or a game back of the Astros going into this series? I don't think they sweep it, to be honest with you. I think they bungle at least one of these games. But this was electric. This game was nerve-wracking. It felt like they were going to make the playoffs at this point. It felt like it. They just really needed to win a game or two, depending on what happened in the other games. But it was still nerve-wracking. But then Josh freaking Naylor comes through in the bottom of the 8th. Bases loaded, bases clearing, double. The crowd pop was immaculate, it looked like, in that stadium. The crowd for that game and the AL West clinching looked so much fun. And that crowd pop on the double in particular was awesome. That's why you watch baseball, because that happens in the bottom of the 8th, and you get to immediately get to Andres Munoz in the 9th right away. You don't have to wait another inning. It's just a half inning, a snap. Andres Munoz comes in, shuts the door. 38th save of the year. They clinch the postseason. Sigh of relief for the whole city after they do this. This was fun to see them celebrate. It was very clear. It was yeah, okay, we're going to chug a beer or two, but we're going to take it easy. Trent Thornton wheeling around second and third base and going home was awesome. All-time clip. The fact that he was there, and they've had his jersey up in the bullpen for weeks now since he got surgery on his Achilles. Incredible to see him wheeling home in his little glasses. Just so much fun. It was so much fun to watch that. And then Cal Raleigh, the leader and just amazing dude that he is, has an all-time quote. Getting interviewed on the field after the game. On Hot Mic, he just says, might as well go win the whole fucking thing. Inspiring from your leader to say that on a hot mic in front of the home crowd. Incredible stuff. And it was just the little appetizer. An hors d'oeuvre, you could say. The next game, where they win the AL West, dude. They won the AL West. And this one, similar to that Astros game, this one was wrapped up. Honestly, in the first inning, I think this one was wrapped up. They started this one hot. Cal hits his 59th. Julio hits his 32nd. Jorge Polanco hits his 25th home runs on the year. It's 3-0 heading into the top of the second. And this one, it was over. It was over at that point. Cal hit that home run that I thought was going to go. I think it would have left the stadium if there wasn't a third row that went. I think the only other dude I've seen, at least recently, to hit one up there, I think Shohei did, if I remember correctly, but it's hard to hit a ball up there. And I think StatCast only had it at 4 32 or something, which seems wrong. Cal hits his 60th of the year, which ends up being his final home run of the season. Seventh player ever to hit 60 home runs. He had already broken Griffey's record. He had already broken Mickey Mantle's switch hitting record. Didn't end up breaking Aaron Judge's, but God, 60 home runs from a catcher. It's just, it's hard to even describe. I'm not the first or last one who's going to say something like that about his season. It just feels, it was the season of Cal Raleigh. It feels like that's kind of how the MVP is going to be decided. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm definitely biased. I'm not going to pretend to not be. But incredible. And to have Luis Castillo on the mound for this game felt really good. He also shoved 7 1/3, 1 hit, 1 run, just a home run, 10 Ks at home to clinch the division. Like, he's been really good at home, so this also, it just makes it even more special. He's just, he marks a really important moment in time in Mariners history. Like, the trade for Luis Castillo was one of the greatest and most impactful moves in the franchise's history. He helps them in 2022 to make the playoffs and beat the Blue Jays. They extend him, and he's only been good. He's only been good for this team. Even this season, he had a much better season than I thought this year. And September, his month of September was phenomenal for where he was at in August, even July. His month of September was great. It makes you feel so damn good going into the postseason with him pitching like this, especially at home. Like, this was the Rockies, sure. It's still very meaningful to me that he was a starting pitcher on the mound to clinch. And the trivia question you have to remember is Luke Jackson closed this game out. Didn't get the save, but it was Luke Jackson to Harry Ford, the battery, that closed this game out in the Mariners' first division win since 2001. You got to remember that one. For future trivia, you simply have to remember it. Just unbelievable back-to-back nights of baseball from this team after a month of amazing ball already. I still can't believe they've done it. We have a whole other week until the ALDS Game 1, and man, it's also ALDS Game 1 is potentially during the wedding ceremony of my brother, which I'm in. If you're listening to this, which you probably are, I think you listen to most of my shows. A little selfish, don't you think, to have your wedding fall on the same day as ALDS Game 1? You know, all I'm saying, maybe a little foresight into your wedding planning there could have been helpful. Listen, I'm kidding, all right? I'm very excited for that. It's just how it's going to happen, how the cookie crumbled. But we don't know who they're going to play. We do not know when they're going to play or who they're going to play. Guardians or Tigers is all we know. I hate playing the Central. I've long compared it to torture. Not just killing you. Like getting beat to death by the Astros and the LDS. That just kind of feels, you're numb to that. I feel losing the Astros. Having to play this Guardians team right now, I think it would be worst case scenario. Now they have a very risky team makeup of the pitching has been unreal. The offense is boo-boo. The offense is really bad. It's a very, very bad offense. Small sample in the playoffs, sure, they could get some stuff done, but it's just a volatile situation. But it hasn't seemed to matter for them. Like they have played ridiculous demon ball, is what I've said. The Mariners, it's full of whimsy and fun Etsy witch stuff and mustaches, and the Guardians is like Satan. Like that's what this feels like to me. The Tigers, I don't know how to feel about the Tigers at all. especially this season. I think the Mariners can beat them. Their offense is fine. They do have Tarek Skubal. However, the Mariners have oddly gotten to him when they've faced him, when he's been like the Cy Young Tarek Skubal this season and last season. They've oddly like had his number a bit, as much as you can have a pitcher like that's number. So I think I'm more scared of playing the Guardians just because of the demon of it all. It just feels like there's just a demonic force behind that baseball team. And I think a Mariners-Guardians series would take many years off of my life if that happened. It's probably going to happen, really. I don't see the Guardians losing at this point, but I think that series is going to be awesome. I hope you get 3 games of that. That would be tremendous. Tremendous content. But we'll see. We'll see who they play. I'd rather play the Guardians, or my bad. I'd rather play the Tigers. I don't know who they're going to play. Like I'm not gonna preview a series between either of those teams. We're just gonna have to find out who they play and deal with it. What I can preview that the team won't matter is the opponent won't matter to make this decision. I don't think is the Mariners pitching staff and how that's gonna line up with the ALDS. Dan has been quite coy when asked this question, because partially I don't think they've figured it out yet. They have time to figure it out. There's a couple key variables in this equation as well that they have to figure out. So I'm not shocked that Dan hasn't said like for sure who's going 1. Brian Wu is obviously, if he's healthy, he's going 1, but he has his pec injury right now. Thank God. Jesus, thank God. By the way, I didn't even mention that from the Astros series. He was cruising, and then he left the game. Just a pec injury. I think there was a minor moment of dread that it was an elbow or even shoulder thing, but thank God it wasn't. Seems like he's day-to-day. They're also playing this pretty close to the chest, as they wouldn't obviously come out and say like, oh, it's not good, or oh, it's amazing. Like Brian Woo's been like, yeah, taking it a day at a time. Like he's given the stereotypical baseball/athlete answers. Yeah, just taking it one day at a time. We'll see. Every day's different. Going through the motions. He's the obvious game 1 starter if he's healthy. But how does the rest of the rotation go? Like with his pec too, I don't know. Is if it's not fully healthy by Saturday and they don't feel confident. Like I think I'd want them to be 100%, him be 100%, the trainers, everyone be 100% like, yeah, you're good. You're chilling before he goes out there and starts game 1. Because I think right now, like this is the reports of the demise of this rotation were greatly exaggerated. They're now all back. They're not all perfect. Like Bryce Miller, I think, is the least perfect, the most imperfect of them all at the moment. But I think they're back. You know, I think it was injuries that really derailed their seasons. It pushes back the start of the season mentally and physically. And so right now, I think they're all throwing really well. That Astros series was an eye-opener of like, yeah, Wu, we know is the best. But Kirby and Logan, Kirby especially, was unreal against the Astros. When those guys he was so locked in. Like, there's a lot of good, valid criticism of George Kirby as a pitcher. But he's shown in his really high-leverage starts in late September and October, he is delivered. Like when he's locked in, he's locked. He was fired up in that Astros series. The same with Logan. I think both of them have that switch in them where I trust them implicitly to give them the ball in October for that reason. I think Luis Castillo is similar, but I just don't think he's as talented right now. So I think that's your obvious 1, 2, 3. But I think there's some little cheeky little things you can do, because let's just operate that Brian was fully healthy starting game 1. He's obviously starts game 1. Game 2, You could convince me that Luis Castillo should start that game because it'll be at home. And he's pitching well right now, mainly because it's at home. So then you have 2 on the road after that. So then you go Kirby George on the road against their what? What would they be pitching? Not their best starter in those games. Like Kirby and George against their best 2 or 3 or 3 and 4. And I'm taking Kirby and George. Either the Tigers or the Guardians there. And then game 5, potentially, if you have a game 5 back at home, I think you feel good enough to throw Wu again if he's healthy, right? And at some point, Bryce Miller's out of the bullpen for any of these games. You probably have Luis Castillo available out of the bullpen for game 5. At home again. So there's that. Or you could just straight up go conventional and go Wu Gilbert at home 1-2 and just try to finish them in game 3 with George and then figure it out. And then there's the possibility if Brian Wu is not healthy. Then I think you really should. I think you should do Logan, Luis, and then you should do George, and then Bryce, and then figure game 5 out. And I'm feeling okay at that point. Emerson Hancock looked incredible recently. I fear how much I fear an Emerson Hancock playoff appearance, but he's been pitching so well out as a reliever. I just don't know. But I think that's what they have to do. The biggest thing is what they do with Luis Castillo. And I think Bryce Miller, like he threw on the final day. He threw on Sunday, which means he could still pitch on Saturday if he was going to start game 1. He's not, right? Smacked my own thigh if you heard that one. But I think he's going to be a really good guy out of the bullpen. I think he's going to be a super valuable little addition to this October pen. I have numerous times been on record saying, comparing Nathan Eovaldi's 2018 to Bryce Miller's eventual 2025 postseason. Hope that doesn't make me look real dumb. It probably will. But I think the lineup is sorted right now. The bullpen is sorted right now. The rotation, it's a good problem to have that they're all kind of throwing it solidly right now. Your top 4 at the very least. The biggest thing is Brian Wu's pec. And if they try to get cute with giving Luis a guaranteed home start in the playoffs, I don't think it's a terrible idea to throw him game 2 if Wu's healthy. To throw him game 2 if Wu's healthy or not healthy, I think it's a good idea to do that. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. If you think I'm wrong, maybe I'm talking out of my ass. Maybe I'm getting too cute. Maybe they should just throw Luis when they throw him. But I feel like that could potentially be advantageous to them. But I could talk a lot more about this baseball team. I might, but I don't think so. This team feels a little different than 2022. 2022, it felt like the window opened in 2021. But in a fraudulent kind of way. I mean, it was the fun differential team. They had no business winning 90 games that year. But you saw some stuff that year that was like, oh, okay. They had like Jarred Kelenic in the system and Julio in the system. They had Cal coming up. They had Logan coming up. They had Kirby on the way. They had Andres Munoz, who was intriguing. They had Matt Brash, who was intriguing. They had a lot of stuff happening that was potentially good from a team that was kind of exiting a short little rebuild. And then 2022 happened, and it was like, okay, yeah, this team is here. Like, this team, there's clear competencies of this team that are good enough to have like a viable core. They had a viable Major League Baseball core at this point that was developing. They had a general manager, I don't know if he was Pobo at the time, I can't remember, willing to put some chips on the table to go out and improve the team in Luis Castillo that year and Carlos Santana. but it felt like the window was in its infancy, and in many ways the competitive window was in its infancy. That doesn't mean you can't win. It doesn't mean it's not shitty that they lost that year. It was, but it still kind of felt like, yeah, okay. I think everyone was satisfied after a few weeks, after the stink of the Robbie Ray relief appearance and the 18-inning nightmare at home. After that kind of wore off, I think everyone was optimistic. I don't think there was a ton of dread heading into that offseason. It was optimistic. It was like, okay, yeah, we got our little taste of playoff baseball in the past 2 decades. We want more now. And then tremendous disappointments the back-to-back years that led to this season. Many valid criticisms of how this team was built. I've had many. I still have many. But then you net out with this team winning the division for the first time in 24 years. A actual good offense, the best offense that's ever been built here by Jerry DiPoto. The best and deepest managed offense since the early 2000s for sure. That's where you end up. Still with this pitching staff with a very high ceiling. And it feels like they're a legit contender. Like 2022 was like, yes, they might make some noise. This season, it's like this team is absolutely built to win a World Series. They have the pitching who have that ceiling. You need pitchers who sometimes might just kill you out there, just kill the opponent. You have this lineup that is just good. It's just a good lineup. Like, it's finally a lineup that I can look at and not complain about, hey, I'd rather have a couple more good major league hitters in this lineup. There are enough good major league hitters in this lineup, finally. I don't have to gripe with that, and that's paired with one of the best catchers ever in Cal Raleigh, I'll say it, this season. And then Julio. And yeah, it's just, this feels like more of a force. This feels like a legitimate baseball team. Despite them winning, the same amount of games as they did in 2022? So, the Fangraph still has them as the number one, most likely to win the World Series. Where are they at now? 20.6%, man, is insane. It makes me sick that the Mariners are number one in these rankings. Like, yuck. It just makes me scared. But it's exciting. It's exciting, nerve-wracking. This month is going to take it out of me this next month. Like, October's going to kill me. I already told my fiance, so I think I might die this month, no matter what happens with this team. Like, this, I love, this is such a fun baseball team. And it's, no matter what happens, if they get eliminated, if they win the World Series, I'm going to cry and throw up at the same time. That's just what's going to happen. And I think I'll just leave it there. I could talk more about guys' seasons, but I'm going to wait. I don't need to talk about regular season baseball anymore. We're in the playoffs. We're in the freaking playoffs. And let's go do it. Let's go win. Let's go beat, hopefully. Ugh, man, I still really hate that we're playing an AL Central team, but whatever. I'm excited. I will be back after the DS, probably, hopefully, in a good mood. I'm going to leave you with, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy watching the wild card like me with no stress attached to it at all. And before the division series, of course, go Mariners.